this morning?
Good.
Good to see you guys. Good morning. How are you? Did you have a good night?
Yep.
Awesome. Good morning, and morning. How are you this morning? Good. Good morning, Divine. How are you this morning? 2, 3.
Find your place. Look next door. Buy more, greater, add one more. Then you find. Stay the same. All digits behind. Zero's your name. We will round you. We will.
See on here are the very same things that we use in class, but we say 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you're going to see the number 1 on there, the little crying face. And when we see that crying face, what does that mean when we're assessing ourselves?
You understand you.
We don't understand it even when somebody's trying to help you. That's when we rate ourselves as a 1. What do we say a 2 is? Yeah, we need a little bit of help in order to understand it. What about a 3? When we say we're ourselves at a 3, I got this. I know how to do it. And then a 4?
Is I teach people.
Yeah, I got it, and I can go teach somebody else how to do it. So we're using that same rating scale that we use in class every day, and we're going to look at our standards for our place value for whole numbers, which we have our test today. So we're going to see where you rate yourself right now before we take that big test at the end. So look at the I can statement on the first one. I can explain what happens to a number when it moves to the right and to the left in the place value system. So rate yourself. Where would you rate yourself being able to explain what happens to numbers as they move to the left and to the right? James, can you prove that you're a 4?
So we have 5,500. We have 5,555.
Okay.
So we have the 5 in the tens place
Okay.
and the 5 in the thousandth place.
Okay.
The 100, 10 times we'll go, there's 1 0, so we go left 1 time.
So when we move to the left, you're multiplying by 10.
And the 100 times, there's 2 zeros, so it moves 2 times.
Me too. Disagree with James explaining as it moves to the left.
And one tenth of moves right 1 time because there's 1 0. And
So if this 5 were to move 1 time to the right, we
And
found 1/10 of it.
and the fraction in the decimal points makes it a tenth.
So the decimal 1 is this equivalent? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So this 5 in the thousandths place, by comparing it to the 5 in the tens place, what would you say it is?
100 times.
100.
100th.
Do y'all agree with his explanation? Would you agree that James is a 4, a level 4? Was he able to explain it to us? Very good. All right, looking at your second one. I can multiply and divide using powers of 10 and explain how to do so. So rate yourself. So you know how to do it, and you're able to explain what happens when you're multiplying and dividing by powers of 10. Nico, do you rate yourself as a 3 or a 4?
I rate myself, yes, as a 4.
As a 4, can you prove it? How could you prove it to me?
We can. So when you multiply something by 10, it's kind of like what James said. It goes forward. Well, it goes left.
Goes left, yes.
It goes left. It gets higher in value. If it's divided by 10, it goes down. It goes down in value. It goes right.
It goes to the right.
It goes to the right, meaning it goes down in value.
It goes down in value. Its value decreases. Okay.
And also if you so practically, let's say, what James said, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. If the 5 in the hundreds place goes left, it goes to the thousandths place. And if the 5 in the hundreds place goes to the right, it goes to the tens place.
Okay, Mills, can you elaborate a little bit? If I said you're going to multiply some number, so we're going to put the letter N, some number by 10 to the 3rd power. Can you tell me what I would do to that number?
So what you would do is you would take the n, whatever number it would be, if it's like 2, 5, 3,
57, 83. Yep.
you would take that number and do it 10 times, and then that would say do it like times 10, and if it was like a 2, for example, that would be 20, and then you do it again, that would be 200, and then you do it times 10 again, that would be 1,000.
So you're taking this number and you're multiplying it by 10 3 different times. Does anybody have a different strategy on how you would explain taking a number and multiplying it by 10 to the third, Jacob?
Oh, yeah, pretty much what you did. I agreed with what Mills did, but I kind of like, at first I didn't understand because he was multiplying the number by 10. So what I would do, I would use the power of 10 and turn that into 1,000. And then multiply the number. So like times 2 would equal 2,000.
Any me too? Do you agree with Jacob? So how does this relate to moving numbers across in the place value system?
Because they're both showing they're going to the left or going to the
No, this is going to the left because you're multiplying by a positive power of 10, and you're going to be going to the left. It's going to get larger. Do you agree with that? We agree with that, James? Awesome. All right, so looking at your third one. I understand how to write a number in expanded notation as the sum of products. That was like on that was like on the pre-test yesterday. You guys had to go back and probably correct that one. Most of us missed when I told you to do
Expanded notation and sum of products?
yeah, like 267 on your the majority of you on your pre-test when I graded them, it was 200 plus 60 plus 7, and I counted that wrong.
Okay, that went really well. It's basically you're taking hold on.
2.
Like when you put it into the fourth and you take the 2 yeah, and you're still using powers of 10, but to the second powers, to the first
2
powers.
times 10 to the second power, or I could have just done. All right, tell me what you learned about the Wright brothers from Reworks.
That they were interested on flying for a while.
That was their inspiration, that first question. So tell me about why they chose Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Why did they have to choose that place too?
It's not letting me count. It's not letting me. And it was also eventually, so they were able to get it
So if they couldn't get to Kitty Hawk, you said they would choose a breezy beach or Windy Hill. Alright, I'll have to get online and make sure they're ready, and I'll sign you off later, and then the ISO can finish that tomorrow. Put that to the side, keep your vocabulary in there. If you want to work on your squiggle until the ISO. I see some Me Too's from your classmates, and the minors didn't just stop in the Great Plains. They went all the way to California.
Nevada, because wasn't there a Nevada gold rush?
And I see this here too, the California Gold Rush. Did anybody get more specific? Specifically, where in California was this gold rush, Landry? San Diego. Me Too. Disagreements?
I think that
I'm pretty sure it was like in
Nevada's not California.
it was in the nowadays, like, you know, San Francisco. It was there, but it wasn't like a big city like it is.
So San Francisco is where it was. So San Francisco in California is where most of them were rushing to. I thought I saw where 49ers. Why 49ers?
Like that's what the miners were called.
Why were they called 49ers?
going in 1849.
They were going in 1849. That's when they were moving.
And listen.
All right, looking at our reading rotations for today. So you will have me as a rotation, so make sure you have your chapter book that you were assigned on Monday. You need that book. You also need your reading journal. Okay, so you'll have a reading journal. And then you need your social studies journal as you are rotating wherever you're going in your group. So you have self-select reading, so when you're reading, you can choose to read about whatever you would choose, or we'll assign new chapters today. I didn't write them up on the board today because we'll choose that in our group, what we want to have read by Friday. And then your rotation for social studies. Some of you said you needed a little bit more time getting Western settlers. Thumbs up, you're done. Thumbs down, you need a little bit more time today. So I see some of you are finished. So if you are finished, we'll move on to number 2. If you need a little bit more time, I wouldn't spend more than half of the rotation finishing those 3 settlers. What were the 3 settlers that we were reading about in your hyperdoc? Homesteaders. Yep. Miners. And ranchers. So you're really focusing on those 3 and investigating why those 3 groups of people were settling over into the West, into Texas and Oklahoma. Some are going as far as California. So why were those 3 people settling up the western part of the United States at this time period? If you finish that, then I will have a handout for you about cowboys. Which of those 3 groups would you consider to be cowboys?
Ranchers.
The ranchers. Okay, so you're going to read more details about the cowboys. There are some questions on the back of it that you're going to need to answer in your social studies journal, and I'll show you guys when you start that, where that is. And then your rotation number 4, your 4th, or some of it's your 4th, is a novel study. So on Canvas, when you log into Canvas and you go to the reading button, which button? Reading. Once you click on reading, it takes you to your group. So if you're the circle group, you're going to click on circle. If you're the triangle group, you're going to click on triangle. So you'll click on there and it will give you something that you have to respond to in your reading journal. So in your reading journal, you have novel study. So it will be your very first thing that you're going to put, and I would save a page and do it right after your tab. So you need to respond. Do you think that 1 or 2 sentences is an appropriate level of an advanced content response for questions that I'm asking you to do about your book? No. So and it's not group work. So is it, I don't want you sitting next to people in your group and sharing what you're writing. It is your work. And then when we come back as a group tomorrow, you will share your responses in our small group tomorrow. So any questions on what you're doing in your groups? So we understand? All right, you've got 1 minute to get everything that you need to the rotation for today. So we're going to go back so you can see where your group is meeting today. You've got a minute to take your things, get to your group.